Everyone is aware of the Russia-Ukraine war, and since it's been quite some time, I thought of making this video to talk about few lessons which India can learn from the ongoing war. As we all know, most of our mechanized platforms of warfare are essentially Russian. We also have a lot of Russian trainings on tank warfare or let's say mechanized warfare to go along with them. Indian army have been practicing on almost yearly basis with the Russians and have spent billions of dollars buying Russian platforms. And suddenly we see these platforms being picked out of thin air by these very small and highly mobile anti-tank missiles and drones. So there needs to be an immediate rethinking because it is Russian after all. Many of our military inventory and the mechanized platforms are Russian. If we do an analysis of the survivability of Russian armor, most of the vehicle platforms were taken out by anti-tank missiles or drones. So in urban warfare, compact yet deadly has been a trend in recent history. Now in India's context, what can we learn from the Russians as far as their doctrines or let's say operational philosophies are concerned, and what should we do about it? At first, we all know and we all have seen how wars have gone wrong over the last 3 to 4 decades. There was a lot of critique about Iraq-Afghanistan war and now it's Russia-Ukraine. The larger issue which one must observe is that there is a disconnect, or shall I say a lack of sufficient convergence between what the political bosses want and what the military promises it can deliver. For example, Putin was told Ukrainian military just won't stand up, and that was a very serious failure of assessment. Secondly, we must observe what some of the smaller armies such as China and Israel are doing. They are of course spending a lot of time and energy in looking at strategic military futures. The US has recently, just 2 or 3 years back, set up their Futures Command, whose only job is to look at strategic military futures doctrine. This is hugely important. If one have an ecosystem which can get the futures right, which can ensure political military convergence, one will not have problems like Russia in the first place. So the ecosystem is equally important. Thirdly, another thing to consider is change in methods of warfare. At times, the army used to do a lot of large-scale maneuvering, but after that, gradually the focus has shifted to the exercises which are for similar objectives but done without troops, or let's say minimum troops and more of technologies such as drones. In present times, the second method of warfare has gained more traction than compared to all the large-scale maneuvers. But there is Russia here indulging in large-scale maneuvers. And the combat engagements with Ukraine by using tanks have not gone well as per the videos which have surfaced on the internet. Most of you have seen that whole transition from deep combat to the close fight, and the Russian armored convoys were like logistic convoys lined up, and they don't work much in close combats or won't work well within a city, where they can be easily taken out by using anti-tank missiles. So it speaks very poorly of their orchestration in marshalling forces. I mean specifically in terms of infantry and tanks. Russia has of course not been using its air force, which is huge and very capable. Both sides have increased the usage of drones in the war, whereas tanks are being bombed very easily. In fact, some are even stolen. It can be considered a sign that the era of tanks have gone and the drones have emerged. Drones are compact, smaller in size, and along with the mobility it provides, have proven very effective. Well, not just effective, efficient too. Let it be in terms of surveillance, eliminating targets, or in terms of economical or financial aspect of war. They can be cheaper than the missiles, which can eliminate them. Drones such as kamikaze are much cheaper than a single missile, which has the capability to take one drone out, and since more than one missile might be required to take down one drone, hence at least they will end up harming the enemy financially. Kamikaze or suicide drones have proven to be very helpful for Russia, just like Bayraktar and Switchblade have been for Ukraine. There have been also bad professionalisms. There was an instance where the communications didn't work, so many of the Russian generals in the Russian army, they hopped onto the Ukrainian cellular net and they were picked up. The data flew and they were taken out. So there is bad professionalism too, but since many of the mechanized platforms and strategies which Russia have been using till now have been defended well, in fact Ukraine have retaliated very successfully in many engagements. Therefore, we must do a very close audit of our inventory, of our doctrines, of our operational maneuvers, how we will orchestrate political military convergence in the Indian context. The political leadership and the military top brass and the senior national security bureaucracy should sit and work in these scenarios so that we get political and military convergence as close as possible. So of course there are huge lessons, not only in the inventory, but in the platforms as well, in terms of how do we prioritize our military purchases, not only in legacy platforms or emerging technologies, but also in doctrines, tactical techniques and procedures. The surest guarantor of peace is an instrument of force which is joint, which works together for common objective. And we know how difficult it is to get joint. In India, the Prime Minister has been pushing for right sizing. Don't be so large and don't be so heavy that you have no technology. What countries like USA, China and Israel are doing to embrace technology is simply mind-boggling. We can simply have a separate video on that. Meanwhile, India has also started adapting and embracing these emerging technologies. They are no longer theoretical pieces for civilians to master. They are sensing the character of war in very intimate ways. So this is a huge challenge. And it's said that the surest guarantor of peace is a joint calibrated technology-enabled military. There are 4 words here, but they take 3 decades to be completed. But that is the surest guarantor of peace we must never forget.